Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Right People, Right Places podcast. I'm your host, Raul Mendoza, and I have the absolute pleasure of having Richard Train on. He comes to us with over 30 years of experience in both the private and public sectors, really looking at business processes, general management, budget development, just a whole spectrum of background and experiences within those areas. And he is also part of the Vistage network, a Vistage chair, which I am a Vistage member myself. I love what the work that Vistage chairs do. I love the work of Vistage of just elevating CEOs, helping them. And Richard is a guy that can absolutely provide so much value in that regard, having had the 30 plus years of experience doing all types of business and consulting. He's seen the good, the bad, and the ugly. And I am excited to get into some conversations about what it means to do business the right way. Nice business, not only attracting and retaining the right business, but also building an organization that attracts and retains talent and grows profitably. And so, Richard, thank you so much for being on the show today.
It's my pleasure, Raul. I appreciate it. And it's great talking with you again.
Fantastic. Well, let's dive into it here. Let's get into your story. I think it'd be great to start there, and we can kind of span into some particular questions and kind of see where the conversation goes.
Sure.
And go from there. So tell us a little bit about your background. Obviously touched into the fact that you've been both in the public and the private sectors.
Right.
Doing business and consulting in all those areas. Tell us how you got to this point in your career, now coaching CEOs and helping them elevate their game.
Well, thanks for the question. I have to tell you that I really kind of came to it naturally because my family started a business. My grandfather, my great-grandfather started a business back in 1936. And it was a international trading of recycled, reclaimed steel products. And then they got into kind of a back end way of selling floor coverings throughout South Texas. And then it grew into a full-fledged wholesale floor covering distribution company, which is where I grew up. And it was a family-run business, wholesale to the retailers, working with manufacturers from the carpet mills and then vinyl flooring and ceramic tile and hardwood flooring and all that kind of stuff. So I grew up within that business, and it was a good medium-sized business when I came into it after college. And I kind of grew up a little bit in that business too. I mean, I'd worked summers in the warehouses, driving forklifts and filling orders from the warehouse and things like that. But it was all customer service and sales based. And the way that my grandfather ran the business, and my father and my two uncles came into it after they got out of college. And so it was always ingrained into us that it's about the customer. It's about doing what's right. Taking care of your customer and your customers and your people will get you farther than being slick.
Yeah.
So I was raised with that ethos. And so when I graduated college, it wasn't a foregone conclusion that anybody in the family was going to go into the family business. Don't just expect it. And if you come into it, you're going to have to work your tail off. Because you have more to prove than somebody else. You may have all the capabilities in the world, but we're not going to put you into a spot that, number one, you don't have the capacity for, and number two, you don't have the drive to excel at.
Right.
And my mother would kill me for ending my sentence with a preposition right there, but so don't tell her. But so that was basically from whence I came. And so when I went into the business right out of college, I was given the crappiest sales territory that you could possibly get. It was cobbled together from everybody else's the dregs of their account list. And of course, this is back in the days when you had account lists printed out on those green lined, computer papers with the holes on the side and everything. So, so this is long before the internet and all of that, because I'm old. So I had this list that was made up of everybody else's crap. And I say that euphemistically because these are people. These are accounts that either they really probably shouldn't have been accounts,
right?
Or they were good people running their retail floor covering store, and somehow we wronged them in some way, or they didn't like our sales rep, or we were selling around them directly to their customer, or something really that we should not have been doing. And I had to clean all that up. And the only way you do that is by earning trust.
Yes.
Regaining that trust, which was harder for me because my name was on the door. My last name was on the family business. It was known as Swift Train Company. Mm-hmm. My great grandfather Joe Swift and my grandfather Herb Train, and so that was the sales territory that I started off with, and then I had to get moved to Austin, where I was there for 5 years, and I had to turn around a territory that had been badly mistreated. A lot of the same stuff that I was telling you. And so I had to re-earn people's trust. And the only way you do that is by doing things the right way, by treating people with respect, by learning what it is that they want, and by taking all that weight on your shoulders and figuring out how to do it well. And not only that, you need to back it up with your own internal organization doing things the right way to regain that person. It's not just me making the sale. Yes. I mean, I can get you to agree to an order, but if we don't follow through and deliver you exactly what you want and the price that you want at the time that you need it, then the rest of my organization is failing. So I needed to make sure that I'm dealing internally the right way. And it's even more important for me because, like I said, my name is on the door.
The name's on the door.
So it's not just Richard, some sales guy, dealing with customer service and dealing with the warehouse and dealing with the delivery area. It's making sure that I'm treating them right. Because if I'm a jerk and I don't treat them right, then it's not just Richard, some sales guy, it's a train doing it.
Right.
And
it's personal, isn't it? It's personal.
It's personal. And when people say things like it's not personal, it's only business, BS. It's always personal because it's still two people communicating together.
Yes.
And if I do something that is in any way wrong, much less, God forbid, offensive to you,
right,
then I need to either make it right. No, I need to make it right. That's pretty much it. I need to make it right. There's no either or.
There's no either or. Yep, I love that.
I mean, it's well, no, I guess the either or is I either make it right or I lose you. And I can forget about you helping me to make this sale go through. So that's where I came from. And after a period of time, as much as I loved my family's business, it was very comfortable to know that I had such a wonderful organization. It was about a 200-person business. And we had reach in Texas, Oklahoma, Louisiana, and Arkansas. It was most of Texas.
Okay.
Into Oklahoma, into Arkansas, into Louisiana, but not all of those states. We had, I think, 7 or 8 warehouses across Texas, and we serviced a pretty large area. My sales territory was just the central Texas, Austin area. Eventually got into marketing. So moved out of the sales territory after I turned it around and into home office in Corpus Christi, and started marketing, started up our first website, started up a whole outbound telemarketing department and things like that. So I did that for about 10 years until I started to realize that, it's pretty comfortable. I wonder if any of my success is related to my own abilities or if it's just because I had the nice umbrella of the family name.
Right.
You start questioning yourself. And I thought I was pretty good, but I kind of wanted to know for sure. And about that time, about 11, 12 years in, my wife at the time, who had started at Social Security Administration in a field office as a claims rep right after we got married back in 95. She had continually been rising through the ranks and was doing really well. And they noticed her at the national headquarters in Baltimore, and they brought her up for a 30-day detail. And I thought, now's my chance.
Yeah.
I didn't want to stay in the flooring industry and stay in the state of Texas because I did not want to compete with my family business or do anything that would cause any undue stress, because I love my family and I love the business.
Right.
But I wanted to kind of fly under my own steam. And so that was an opportunity for both of us to move out of the territory and do my own thing. And so I went to work for the largest actually, wholesale distributorship in the country, which was based out of the Baltimore region. And did that for about 2 years. Did not like the way that they were run because it wasn't as good as my family's business. So I had some high standards. What the main thing that they did not do that really bugged me was that it was a top-down leadership, which most companies are, but they weren't listening from the ground up. So I loved the fact that my mother, for many years, who had been in the business, started an entire program of total quality management. That was something that I think that was the guy's name was Robert Deming, who started this whole movement back in, I think, the 80s, about making sure that you have teams that when you determine that there was a problem, internally or externally, whatever, you form a team that I think nowadays you call them tiger teams or whatever, where you get together a group of people to figure out how to solve the problem. And you leave titles at the door, and it's a mixture of people. And it doesn't matter whether you are working in the warehouse or whether you are the head of a department. You leave your titles at the door, and everybody has a say. And you talk through the problem, and the people who are closest to the problem are the ones who probably know a thing or two more about how to solve that problem. And so that's something that we had done at Swift Train Company, but at this other company, they weren't doing anything close to that. And I was starting to suggest that, and they were looking at me like I had 3 heads. And while I had some success when I was there, bringing on new commercial product lines and training salespeople and doing a variety of different things, it just simply was not run the way I knew a good business should be run.
Right.
And they were a much larger organization. They were over double what Swift Train was. Huge territory throughout the entire mid-Atlantic states. A huge distribution area, some of the top name brands and all of floor covering and things like that. I just had to do something else. Started my own, and I know this is very long-winded. I apologize.
No, you're doing great. You're doing great.
But I started working for a couple of no longer practicing dentists who had. I became their CEO, not the CEO. I ran their company.
Right.
They had a business. It was a small little company, about 30 people total, 10 full-timers and 20 part-timers. And they did many things. They did marketing products, like direct mail products for dental practices. But their main business was self-produced seminars, continuing education seminars, all about how to better run the business of your practice. Now, they're not business guys, they're dentists. So they know the clinical side, and they had successful practices, which means that they did a decent business.
Right.
But they weren't really business guys. And we did a huge business. I helped to turn them around from having these maybe 50 people in a room seminars across cities in North America, these one-day seminars, to having a couple hundred. And then we also increased they would all build towards this one annual seminar that they called the best seminar ever. And it was usually in Vegas. And my first year, there were 500 people there, full dental teams. And it was a great feeling crowd. I mean, everybody loved being there. It was a real homey feel. And these guys were funny. They were great on stage. They did these Weird Al Yankovic types of parody videos. They were slightly musical. I mean, they could carry a tune. Not great, but they could carry a tune, and they were funny. And so they would get up and do these dental parody songs, and the people in the crowd loved it and everything. So we went from 500 people at the best seminar ever to over 3,000.
Wow.
In the 5 years that I was there, due to the way that I redid their marketing and the way that we interacted with people, and I changed their business models to where they were a lot more customer friendly, as opposed to, we got your credit card, now we're going to send you this and bill you for it, and send you that and bill you for it. There was a lot of that going on. I'm like, no, we're not doing that. And grew that until to the point where they were basically my main product. And there were some things that I wanted to do to bring in new speakers that would be all under their umbrella, and new seminar models that we would have other people teach, and that we would get into full-blown practice management consulting, where we would be hired to go into practices, evaluate, and help to turn around practices that were really struggling. Everything from, specifically, most problems that I came across in dentistry were no different than the problems that I came across in struggling carpet stores. In the fact that you have single businesses with a single entity ownership, and they don't have really the processes in place to really run a successful business. They are people who are technically trained in a skill,
yes,
i.e. dentistry, the clinical side, or laying floor covering, and decide to hang their own shingle up, but they really don't understand the business.
Right. The components of actually getting it off the ground, and
and they have staff, and the staff is bickering and infighting, and there's no communication process. And so how do you do all that? All of these things are drama problems. I boil things down into two problems when it comes to business. It usually boils down to either drama problems or math problems. We're not managing our money correctly. We're not getting enough sales. All kinds of math related problems. And yes, you can bring in a CPA firm to help you do some. I've got somebody who I think might be embezzling. These are all math problems.
Right.
Or you've got drama problems where people are communicating poorly. You have some level of management that manages poorly or are downright mean. You have a toxic person there. These are drama problems. You have poor HR practices, and somebody deals with something that was terrible, and you have no process for it. These are drama problems. And I've got one thing to say about both of those things, is they absolutely affect each other.
Yes.
If you have a drama problem that goes on so long, it's going to affect your sales.
Yes.
It's going to affect how people get paid, because there's not enough money coming in. If you have math problems that go on too long, it's going to cause drama problems.
Right.
They all suck.
Right.
So ultimately it comes down to, you got to solve the drama problems so you can focus on the math problems.
Right.
And if you have a solid, now I specialize in drama problems. I have a long history of working with people, helping people communicate better. I developed an entire effective communication skills training that I have done over and over in multiple industries. And it doesn't matter what industry you're in, effective communication skills are essential no matter where you are.
Absolutely.
And so that's what I encountered with, I determined to do something about it when I was with the dental company.
Gotcha.
When it came to the point where I realized they weren't going to do some of these things to broaden their umbrella of services, so that my product became more than just these two guys. What happens when they decide I'm out, I'm retiring? There goes my ability to continue this business for them. I saw the writing on the wall, and it was time to leave. And I started my own consultancy with one of my best friends who was running sales for these guys. And so we left. We started our own consultancy, and we specifically focused. We knew the dental world so well that we were working on that. And we actually started our own podcast back, and this is back in 2010. And back before anybody was really doing podcasts. Right. Certainly nobody in the niche world of dentistry. And it was great. We had a wonderful time. We had about over a 4-year period, we did about 50 or so episodes. We had over 200, and I want to say 220,000 downloads. And we would walk around dental industry exhibit halls for the large ones, and we knew a lot of people, but we would also meet people and say, I don't know if you've ever heard of the podcast. I don't know if I could use its name now in public, because I think somebody else took it over and trademarked it. But at the time, we would drop that name, and people would say, "Oh, that's you. That's yeah. I've listened
dental
to it."
Celebrity. You're a dental,
and I'm not even a dentist. But it was all about the business of your practice. Yes, you're doing this new cosmetic procedure. How is that going to improve the business of your practice? How are you marketing it? What does it do for your patients? How do they know that it's going to be beneficial for them? How are you upselling it when they're in your dental chair? I mean, so there are all these things that people needed to know. And if I'm a dentist and I'm a clinician and I'm not really a business guy, but I'm sitting there with somebody and I want to do this new procedure, how do I talk to them about it? It's all effective communication skills. Totally. And so that's I loved doing that. And about the same time that we started our consultancy, I was invited to join Social Security Administration at headquarters to be on the team that ran the entire IT budgeting process for all of the Office of Systems for the headquarters of Social Security Administration. So it's everything from the public-facing websites that were being developed to all the back-end database architecture and improvements and upgrading from the old COBOL, databases. Well, there was a lot of that, a lot of legacy systems that needed to be updated, and they've been continually updated over the years, depending on funding from Congress and everything. But it's a $2 billion budget. Wow. And the process for budgeting takes half a year. And so you're dealing with just the Office of Systems at headquarters was 4,000 people. So it's a ton of developers, a ton of analysts, and a ton of management. And very few people. I don't know how much you know about software developers. They're not the most communicative people in the world.
Typically not. No,
Typically
I
not.
hire some. So
some of the smartest people I will ever know in my entire life, from all walks of life, and they are wonderful people, but not the best communicators.
Mm-hmm.
So you have somebody like me that comes from a sales and marketing and management background, and I was either the life of the party in their meetings or the bane of their existence. But it was important to manage something as dry as a budget process, and get people to talk about it in ways that they could really come forward and talk. So while I was there, what do you know? I used my effective communication skills trainings multiple times. So different organizations within systems had me come in and talk. And it wasn't really just me talking like I'm doing ad nauseum right now. It was me facilitating discussions. And getting people to kind of come out and pull that out of them. And get them to have these meaningful conversations that are so important in any organization to be able to move forward. Let's talk about the hard stuff. What's the elephant in the room?
Yeah.
And it's not, you're talking about the need to do a project that requires this kind of software development, but is that really what we're talking about? Or are we really talking about the fact that you want this, you think it's the best thing, and so over there doesn't, and you don't like them for that? And that's a hard discussion to have, especially when you're not normally a communicative person. So there was all of that going on. And then I started, before COVID hit and everybody went remote, there was an internal morale issue that the associate commissioner with whom I was working had me start up this entire process for employee engagement, which really basically translated to morale improvement. And I basically pulled, I channeled my mother. So that whole team approach, I brought together teams, a management team and a non-management team, got them in a room just from across the organizations, had them come into a room, and I said, these are the ground rules. This is what we're going to do. We're going to talk about this. No topic is off limits, but this is not going to be a gripe session.
Yeah.
This is going to be productive. And if I feel like it's heading too far down a rabbit hole and not focused on the main goal, which I wrote up in big letters up on the board, this is our goal. This is where we're going. How we get there depends on you, but I'm going to kind of kick you back onto the road from time to time. We had 2 days of this for both groups, cobbled together lists of all kinds of things that could be done to improve employee engagement and address issues. Took all of that information, compared the two lists together, and said, this is where we're different. These were the top issues from the non-management group. These were the top issues from the management group. And this is where there are some similarities. They're both talking about these things. So these are the ones I want to focus on. Presented this to all the senior management within systems. And this process was then presented to the Commissioner of Social Security, who then made other areas do something similar. All this to say, communication got a lot better.
Yeah.
And we addressed, of the top 5 issues, 3 of them were addressed at some level. It never goes exactly the way that the non-management people want, and the management people, begrudgingly do some things that they may not have wanted. But something got done. And ultimately, communication improved, productivity improved. So we now had a framework for how to communicate, and then COVID hits. And everybody is remote.
Wow.
And we at least had ways of continuing to be able to communicate.
Yeah, a
And
roadmap.
we kept these programs, and we kept the management meeting going once a month within this organization. What are you doing with your teams? How is it working? What can you share with the other senior executives on what they can do? And they were sharing ideas of how to keep their teams engaged, especially when they had brand new employees that have never stepped foot on campus and never really saw their teams, because they didn't mandate that people always go on camera when they were on video chats, which always bugged the heck out of me. But remember, these are a lot of very introverted people, so not being forced to be on camera was very comfortable for them. But they were able to at least communicate, and so it helped during a very dark time. So anyway, fast forward to I always had an element of teaching and consulting in everything that I've ever done over the past 33 years. I did sell my consultancy after about 5 years of doing that and Social Security at the same time, because as the old saying goes, you can't ride two horses with one ass. So I got off that one. I became a full-time Fed and still consider myself a consultant, because essentially that's what I was doing. Helping people to communicate, helping people to understand what needs to happen, and pulling them along to make their decisions. I'm not telling them this is the decision you need to make, and I never do. I ask good questions to help them make their decisions, whether it's to purchase something, whether it is to move forward in a direction. I think most people are smart enough to know what they need to do. They just need the courage to do it.
Right.
And having those discussions out loud helps that to happen more often than not. But nothing happens until you have that conversation.
I love it. Well, first of all, I just want to say, go ahead.
No, anyway, so that was it. And this recently I had the opportunity of taking an early out and retiring, which I did. And I was able to move from the Baltimore area back to Texas, which is where I'm originally from. And I was in Baltimore for 23 years, have phenomenal friendships, and love all my friends there and loved being there. But it was time to come home and be closer to my family. I've got aging parents whom I love and love being able to spend some more time with. And I've got a lot of family here in the Houston area. And so I retired and came back and started my own boutique consultancy, just general business consultancy. And I have the happy good fortune to be able to pick my clients. Fantastic. And so I'm doing that. And when Vistage was introduced to me, have you ever thought of Vistage? I'm like, what's Vistage? And I realized that being able to be a facilitator for a CEO peer advisory group, and I get to pick my group.
Yeah, right.
I'm basically building a team. It's not a huge team. It's a curated team of about a dozen people.
Right.
Of non-competing CEOs to have real discussions. It's like they built this kind of a program just for me, because it's exactly what I've been doing my entire career.
Your whole career, yeah.
And so it's been fantastic. And there's a great Vistage group of other chairs here in the greater Houston area. And there's so many companies in that large middle market size with CEOs that truly, whether they know it or not, need a team behind them. Yep. To be able to bounce things off of an advisory board to say, hey, look, I'm dealing with this issue or that issue, not really sure what to do. I can't go to my board because they're expecting me to know all the answers, or I can't go to my underlings because to the rest of my C-suite, because they're just telling me what they think I want to hear. And hell, I'm doing half of their work anyway.
Right.
So having a team, and you know, I mean, as a
Yes.
Vistage member,
Yep.
it's the kind of organization that can help to relieve so much pressure off your shoulders
Absolutely.
as a CEO
Yeah.
or as a business owner. So I love that I'm starting a group here. And so anyway, that is a very long answer to what you asked me as far as what my
I,
background is, but that's me.
That's fantastic, Richard. I love it. I love it. You're a storyteller, and I appreciate how you told the story and just provided kind of color towards your experiences. And I saw a lot of themes as you weaved in through your experiences from family owned business all the way through to your own consultancy to the dental side of things and working with those businesses to the Social Security Administration to current day. I really enjoyed listening because it's interesting. A few things stood out to me. If I had to create a word cloud of what you said, um, communication came up a lot,
Yes.
and the and I heard, even though you didn't say it, the statement that kind of bubbled up for me was communication creates culture.
Yes.
And it was so interesting hearing what you were saying because there's so much of what you do that feels it's like, oh, this feels very intangible, almost kind of like, how is this even making a difference, right?
Mm-hmm.
um how it, it's like, and you talked about the the drama the drama issues, and you talked about the math issues,
Right.
and it being one of those two things. Another way that I like to kind of think of it is, um, you know, building business is both an art and a science,
Yes.
right? And I think, there's an art with people, and the science is the math, and it has, 2 + 2 = 4. Like,
Yes.
if you don't have the volume with your sales activity, you're not going to see the ROI that you want. It's just math, right?
Right.
But you can't really address the math problem until you address the heart problem, and the heart
Right.
problem typically is people, and that's where the art kind of has to kick in. You can't go and pound science on people's heads when they don't know that you care for them and you
Right.
care about what they're building. So, I think that I really appreciate what I think it's so providential that you started your career in a family business, because
Mm-hmm.
family business is tricky in that you're dealing with a lot of that heart problem.
Exactly.
You're dealing with
Exactly.
real
Yes.
heart issues. I mean, talk about complexity, family weaving into business. How do you, I mean, there's nothing more complex than dealing with family members in business. And if you can make that succeed and still have a great family and a great business, that's kudos to you. So I think, but
It's rare. It's
it's
very
rare.
rare.
Yeah. So anyway, I wanted to draw these things out because I wanted to ask a question about
Sure.
this, because I think it's really interesting what you're sharing here, because I think, I'm hearing this and I'm like, man, this seems so intangible, but it's the intangible that actually creates the tangible results. It's interesting.
Very
You get
poignant.
in,
Yes.
and I think the other thing too that's interesting about, having this shared experience with Vistage, um, there is something about running effective meetings that actually create an ROI. I feel like that's a bad word. That's like a bad word these days.
No.
People don't want to go to meetings anymore. People don't want to, people want to avoid meetings. But I
Yes.
think one of the things that I like about Vistage, and I think even, I think,
Unless it's meaningful time.
correct, correct. And I think that's where I want to go with this is communication, meaningful communication that turns
Yes.
into results, not only with people finding purpose and feeling engagement in their work, but then that actually creating profits, that actually creating growth. And you've made that connection over and over and over again until now, in different environments, big company, small company, family-owned company. And I guess, that the question that I wanted to ask with that is, what are, I want to talk about it in this way, I guess. What are the early warning signs leaders should look for when culture starts to break down? Because you saw that happening both at the Social Security Administration office. You saw that happening at the family business. Like, what are those indications? And I guess, could you speak to the leadership component? Because, we can't reproduce. I can't reproduce health in a company if I'm not healthy. So
Yes.
Again, it comes back to us, right? But then how we are and how we lead actually is absorbed by the organization. It's, so anyway, just to say that's the question. What are the early warning signs leaders should look for when culture starts to break down? What should they be looking at themselves, and what does it look like in the organization?
You use the word leader. And there's that old saying, I don't know if it's old, but I've heard it a lot. Leaders listen, managers direct. Hear the difference there.
Yep.
Listening versus directing. Speaking versus listening. Understanding versus mandating. The biggest indicator of a breakdown is when there are communication issues, when there is a problem of any sort. Something doesn't go right. Doesn't matter what it is. Something doesn't go right. You start, as a leader, you should file that away. Figure out, okay, what was the cause of that? What was the issue? If it is anything having to do with a communication breakdown, that is usually an indicator of a deeper issue. Is this now, mistakes happen. That's fine. People are human. Not a problem that can't be overcome. The question becomes, is it a repetitious thing?
Right. Is there a pattern?
Is there a pattern? If it is, the quickest thing to do is to address the underlying communication breakdown. Bring together the people who where the issue is. Say, let's talk about this. Why is this happening? Not pointing any fingers or throwing blame, but I want to understand why so we can address it and overcome it so these things don't happen again, so everybody can work more cohesively and we move on. So we tweak our process. Interesting things happen when you do that. You are able to, number one, fix the problem.
Right.
Number two, you're letting your people know you want to fix the problem so they don't have to deal with this stress over and over again. This does not have to be your life. And you get the downline effect of, hey, I really kind of like working here. So what are they willing to do for you now? Run through the brick wall. They're not in it just for the paycheck. They feel seen, they feel heard, they feel valued. And guess what's going to happen? Chances are the money will come as a result of that. You're keeping customers. You are filling orders. You are making money as a company. And guess who benefits from that? Everybody.
Everybody does, yeah.
So that's the first thing that I do, is usually when there is an issue, there is a drama problem brewing underneath that needs to be addressed. Because the two things are not mutually exclusive. Drama problems and math problems. Yes, I say that I deal with the drama problems, but guess what? They're all part of the same. They're different sides of the same coin.
Mm-hmm. Fantastic. I love it. That's great. I mean, you really broke it down there. And, you can't really, the math is the math, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like it makes sense. It checks out at the end of the day,
Yeah.
um, whatever that math is based on your company and organization, it is what it is. But the
Right.
heart
Right.
issue, the heart problem, the drama issue, once that's addressed and there's a willingness, it's amazing what kind of success and ideas and innovation comes when the heart problems are dealt with, and
Right.
you're actually able to get down. It's almost kind of like the solution doesn't really matter, because there's a lot of solutions to the problem once the heart issue is taken care of.
There's always more than one solution. And I
Yeah.
got to tell you, one thing that's always bugged me is when companies say things like, we make data-driven decisions. Great. That's wonderful. But guess what? It's not just data. That's math problem.
Yes.
There are people behind that data, and there are real lives of there are real employees that make that happen. So if you're just looking at the data to make your decisions, then you're only getting half the picture.
Right. That's so good. That's so good. Man, yeah, this is it's really good. I think, especially in a day and age where we're so reliant on technology. And I mean, look at us. We're talking to each other. This is wonderful. We can do this virtually. But it's amazing what kind of success you can have when you can build those relationships, get to the heart of the matter. And then it's kind of like, all right, what's the solution? Let's just build it together. And, again, it's amazing. You said it earlier about just setting egos aside, setting pride aside, and saying, okay, let's figure this out. Let's figure this out. And then we can figure this out, and how we're actually going to execute. Love it. I just want to ask this question. We're talking about data. What's your process for conducting a culture or a communication audit? What insights usually surprise CEOs the most when it's performed?
Interesting question. This is partially art, like you said, going into an organization and seeing what's happening. You have to first observe. And it's hard to do sometimes, because you walk in and you watch them in action. Most of the time they know that they're being observed, so everybody's on their best behavior.
Right.
And that's where you have to pull people aside and just have conversations. And you give them some innocuous question like, what do you love most about your job? And they're going to give you the high points. Oh, I love, my team is great. My manager's great. I love what I do, and all these kinds of things. But you need to start digging deeper. And it's like, if you could change one thing right now, money not being an object, time not being an object, authority not being an object, what would you do to make your life easier in your job right now? You start getting more interesting answers. And then you do all sorts of things. You start digging. Really, say more about that. And tell me about that. And you start to hear little things, and you focus in on these. Usually, when they give you something that has more to do with heart than with head, that's when you drill down.
Yep.
And you have to do that one by one by one with the people that you talk to. And what I like to do, and I know that I'm not a great note taker. So I'm not going to sit there and be talking to you and writing stuff down.
Yep.
Because I have to focus on you. I'm very ADHD. So I have to focus on what you're saying. And it's work for me. But what it does is it helps me to really focus on what you're saying.
Yes.
What's the intention behind it? After I talk to you and I don't jump to the next person, I find a quiet place and I write it down. Just some key words. And then I go back later and I cobble it together. This is everything that I learned from Raul. And this is everything I learned from Sally. And this is everything I learned from Javier. And this is everything on down the line. And you keep going through and you cobble it together, and sooner or later a pattern emerges. And then I start talking to the management. Same thing. They start off up here, very highbrow, very in their head. They're giving me all the buzzwords. And I keep saying, say more about that. How does that make you feel? How does that affect your business? How does that affect your relationships with the rest of your C-suite? If they give you anything that comes from here instead of here, then, from the heart instead of from the head, then I drill down on that, because the two affect each other. Mm-hmm. And they may not say it, but what's really bugging them inside, that's where the real stuff is.
Yes.
And so ultimately that's what I do. I know some of the best consultants that I've ever seen basically do the same thing. Mm-hmm. Are you familiar with the author Brené Brown?
Not specifically.
Brené Brown is a phenomenal researcher on motivation and leadership, and she's taught at a lot of different universities. She's actually a Houston resident here, which is where I am. And she has spoken to groups all around the world, everything from high-powered CEOs to military brass to you name it. She talks about leadership. And she one of her first huge conferences that she was going to be speaking at with some of the highest of high-powered CEOs in the world were out there, and she was starting to freak out a little bit. And before she went on stage, and this guy came in backstage, was saying, "How you feeling?" She says, "I'm getting a little freaked out right now." And he says, "They're just people. They're just people." And she realized that, and so now every time as she's starting to feel a little overwhelmed, she thinks to herself, people, people, people. Takes a beat and then goes into her spiel. And it's a great thing to remember. We're all just people.
Yes.
We're all dealing with stuff. I don't care. I was with I reconnected with a friend of mine from high school who runs one of the largest, I'm not going to name the name, but one of the largest healthcare organizations in the country. Mm-hmm. And he's just a guy. He's a guy that I knew in high school. And he's dealt with some stuff. And yes, he's got a big job, got a big house, got a big life. Yep. But he's a guy. He's a guy. And we're talking about doing some barbecuing together soon. So, everybody's just, they're just people. Yeah. And what a great reminder. And the issues really are no different. They're only different in scale. Yeah. And if you think about it that way, and look, admittedly, Raul, I am not the most intelligent guy in the room. I'm probably the friendliest, but I'm not the most intelligent guy in the room. I'm smart, but I'm not quick. And so what I have to do for me, I tell my kids this all the time because they're really quick. And so I'm like, give me a minute. But what I have to do is I have to break things down to its simplest term. And usually, it's almost like an Occam's razor sort of a thing where I have to break it down to the most simplest explanation, and it's usually the right one. I love it. And I think that's what you can do with most businesses. So when people come in there, they start spouting all kinds of buzzwords and start trying to test you with what your knowledge is here, what your knowledge is there. Yeah. Well, look, I know EBITDA, My brother's an accountant, but anyway, but still, it's good to know some of this stuff, but you don't have to speak in those terms to understand the problems.
Right. I love it. Oh my gosh, so good what you're saying. It's almost kind of like, I think we can be so concerned with the method instead of just, it's more about the empathy than it is the method. I think
It's all about the empathy.
We're trying to understand the right questions to ask,
Mm-hmm.
and really, relationship is a gritty process. It's just building relationship is gritty. People work with people they like.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, people work with people they like. So how do they get to like somebody? Well, they get to know them. They get to know what they're about. They get to know the good, the bad, and the ugly. They get into the real issues, and usually that happens over a barbecue. Usually that happens over an impromptu phone call, waiting to be boarded onto an airplane. It's interesting what comes out in moments of of just mundane life.
Sure.
And we can be so concerned with the methodology, but it's just time and active listening, asking questions, peeling back the layers, and you get to the heart of the matter. So I really appreciate what you're saying. I think it's timeless. It's a wonderful reminder. And it really comes back to this issue of just building relationship, which this podcast, that's what it's all about. Right People,
Sure.
Right Places podcast is all about how relationship powers business, how relationship powers leadership, healthy leadership, how relationship powers innovation. I mean, everything that you're talking about is all about relationship. Like, you solve problems when you have a relationship with someone. You become a profitable company when you have healthy relationships with a leadership team that have healthy relationships with people.
Sure.
Within
Absolutely.
organizations. So it's just wonderful what you're saying. As we kind of wrap up here, looking ahead, in your work with Vistage, and I think so much of what you're sharing here about this nice business mindset or no business, basically, and building culture, starting with the leader and how that actually expresses itself in an organization. What are the top culture challenges CEOs are facing today?
That's a good question. I think from what I've seen, CEOs are facing the issues of that are really age old. It's being able to effectively delegate, trust their teams. I see so many CEOs who are. I'll call and talk to them about, for instance, this CEO group that I'm forming. Oh, I'm too busy. Why? What? You're really in the weeds, aren't you? Yeah, I just don't have time. What is it that's causing you to not have time? Well, I'm doing this, I'm doing this, I'm doing this. And how about your C-suite? I mean, how is what's their role in this, and are you unable to delegate to them? Huh. Interesting. They tend to not really, so how much of their work are you doing? That's a big one. How much of your C-suite's work are you doing? You have to be careful with that one.
Yeah.
Because it sounds accusatory.
Right.
And that's not where I'm going with that.
Right.
But there's a delegation issue. So either they're not trusting their C-suite to do it because they have a vision of how they want to do it, but their C-suite isn't getting the vision. Well, that's a communication issue. So if they were able to see your vision and adopt it, then you can start letting go of some of the reins and letting them take over and frees up your time. So how do you have those discussions? Take a minute, have those discussions, and then you'll be amazed at how much time you have to start being more of a leader You're working on your business and not in your business.
Mm-hmm.
So I think
Love it.
that's still to this day, and this is an age-old issue. Doesn't matter what the technology is. The issue always revolves around how you communicate and how you are able to yourself make sure that everybody understands what it is that you want. So you don't have to micromanage.
Right. Huh. That's so good. That's so good. I mean, I have more questions within that.
Can you imagine how much weight will be lifted off? I mean, if you're a CEO listening to this, how much weight will be lifted off your shoulders? Let's just talk about your business.
Yeah.
How much more freeing will that be in your business? Not to mention how much family time are you missing out on?
Totally. Oh man, I have some more questions on that. We could probably spend another hour. I mean, talk about the quintessential, kryptonite of every CEO. You're hitting that. Even as you're talking about, I'm thinking about, my own business and the things that I'm going through, and I'm just like, man, I feel like you're reading my mail a little bit here. It's good. It's good. It's good. If there isn't a CEO,
all that means, Raul, is that you're not alone, bud.
Right. Well, that's wonderful. Oh, that's so good. I'm excited for for folks that are listening in on this. I think that's a wonderful. That is just it is timeless, that issue. It doesn't matter how advanced things are, how much technology can take this work. You still need people to think about the issues and problems. And
of course,
truth is, as a CEO, you're only one person still.
Right.
And so how do you share that? And how do you get some time back so that you can actually work on the business? I mean, this is going to be the issue of our time until if we could solve that, we wouldn't have podcasts or anything, right? So
exactly.
Oh, I'm sorry. You were going to say something?
No, I was just agreeing with you.
Yeah, I was just going to ask one last question here. If you could leave CEOs with one takeaway about trust, culture, and growth, what would it be?
The most important thing for a CEO is to practice to be the 3 H's: humble, hungry, and honest. And if you always have that in mind, am I being humble? Am I hungry? Am I honest? That means, and I can go into detail on all 3 of those. I don't know that we have the time, but I'll focus on honesty.
Yeah.
Not just honest in business with whom you're dealing, but honest with all of your people.
Mm-hmm.
They need to understand the why. Why are we doing this? Why is this happening? So they can, if they understand the why and you're honest with them about that, they are adults, they are intelligent, and they will run through the brick wall for you if they feel like you are giving them some trust. So I mean honesty that way, but I'm also talking about honesty with yourself. The problem isn't just those salespeople aren't doing the job. That's why we're not making sales. The honesty could be maybe they're not getting the leadership that they need. What do I need to do to change that? So if you are honest with yourself, then that is as important with everything else. So humble, hungry, and honest.
Whew. If I had a microphone right now, drop it right there. Richard, it has been an honor and a privilege to have you on the Right People, Right Places podcast. If folks want to find you and connect with you, especially CEOs and C-suite folks that are looking for a peer-to-peer group, where can they find you?
Well, I'm building a group only in the Houston area. So if they are outside of the greater Houston area, then there are many phenomenal Vistage chairs that you can reach out to. You can go to vistage.com. But if you are looking for something here in the greater Houston area, whether it's a consultant, because I do in-office consulting, if for that, they can go to info@richardltrainconsulting.com, or they can go online and see me online at my website there, same name, richardltrainconsulting.com. Or they can, if they're interested in Vistage, it's richard.train, like a choo-choo train, TRAIN, at vistagechair.com.
Fantastic. Again, Richard, such a great conversation. I know that I've come away with a lot of insights. I even kind of felt like a few boulders got knocked off my shoulder there, as I heard you telling just sharing some insights and wisdom, some timeless wisdom on how to build business. And so again, so appreciate you being on. And for those of you that follow the Right People, Right Places podcast, thank you for listening in if you've listened this far. If you want to continue to listen to conversations like this, go ahead and click the subscribe button on YouTube. And you can also find us on a variety of different channels. If you want to get in contact with us, where we usually distribute shorts and different video links on our podcast on Instagram, we do have, and LinkedIn, we have a presence as well. So feel free to find us on there. Feel free to find me on there. But thank you. And until next time.